We are right outside Capitol Reef right now in a free dispersed camp spot, and we've been lucky so far at all the places we've stayed, but I'd say this is one of the best so far. Since we left New York, I've only set up my hammock once, and now we're all the way in Utah, and luckily enough I was able to set up my hammock in one of these trees.
And we're kind of like in the desert.
Very few trees.
Whatever you can do to make sure my daughter comes home, I'm asking for that help. There's nothing else that matters to me now.
A plea for help from one set of parents to another.
I'm asking for help from the parents of Brian, and I'm asking for help of the family members and friends of the Laundrie family as well.
We don't know what, if anything, Brian Laundrie told his parents about why he returned home alone on September 1st. But we do know that Gabby's mom, Nicole Schmidt, told the Daily Mail that she texted both Brian and his mom, Roberta Laundrie, on September 10th, saying she was trying to get in touch with Gabby. She says neither of them responded to her. The next day, on September 11th, Gabby's mom filed a missing persons report in New York. She told the Dr. Phil show that at first she was worried about both of them, until police told her that Brian was back home in Florida with the van.
I felt it the night I found out the van was in Florida, on the 11th. I felt in my heart that she was gone.
Just you knew then.
When did the Northport police first make contact with the Laundrie family, and were they cooperative?
The first time that we had interaction with that family was on September 11th, very late at night, blending over into the 12th after midnight. And I would say that they were not cooperative as far as sharing any details. You know, anytime you come and you're potentially trying to figure out if is someone missing, or are they just not wanting to talk to their family, like what's going on, and you have somebody else who's like, well, here's our attorney's info, and that's odd. And we've said that from the beginning, that that whole interaction was odd.
Gabby Petito lived with them, and now she's missing.
Right.
And they didn't want to be asked about that, or
you know, we can read into that. I mean, I think most people would have a take on that. Certainly, I think we summed it up the best that we could, that it was odd.
We don't know a lot about the Laundrie family and what their relationship was with the Petitos. Joe Petito told Fox News that he was told not to discuss his, quote, previous relationship with Brian, end quote, during the course of the investigation, which naturally raises questions about what they thought about Brian and Gabby's relationship even before their daughter went missing. Brian Laundrie's sister, Cassie, told ABC News that the couple would sometimes fight, but she never saw any signs of domestic violence.
Me and my family want Gabby to be found safe. She's like a sister, and my children love her, and all I want is for her to come home safe.
I can't imagine that he would come back to the house that they were living in together under the same roof, the parents seeing them every day, and them not asking him, where's Gabby and what happened to Gabby? For him to come home and just be silent with his parents and them not ask him any questions, to me is unfathomable.
On September 6th, the Laundries went on a family camping trip at Fort DeSoto Park, about an hour north of their home. According to his sister, the subject of why Brian came home alone from his trip out west with Gabby didn't even come up.
Who was there?
My mom, my dad, my brother.
Did Brian say anything about Gabby?
And our kids there. Nothing came up.
He didn't say anything about Gabby?
No.
In the weeks after Brian's return home, he was seen riding his bike, mowing the lawn, even going to the AT&T store to buy a new cell phone. The cell phone he used on the trip, along with Gabby's cell phone, according to police, are both missing. Authorities seized the white van used on the trip, and though they didn't find any cell phones, they are examining other material, including an external drive they took from the van, according to a police affidavit. Meanwhile, in a sudden twist, 2 days after the Petitos filed a missing persons report about Gabby, Brian is gone. Brian Laundrie's parents contacted Northport police on Friday, September 17th. They say they haven't seen Brian since he told them he was going for a hike at the Carlton Reserve in Venice, Florida, 3 days earlier on September 14th. They say he left behind that cell phone he recently purchased, which is now in the hands of the FBI, and his wallet. Almost 3 weeks later, on October 6th, the Laundrie family attorney announced his parents had revised the timeline and now believe the last time they saw Brian was Monday, September 13th.
Why do you think Brian Laundrie's parents would have waited 4 days to tell police that their son was missing?
Yeah, I can only speculate. I can only, the potential that maybe they thought that he was surviving in the woods. I don't want to speak for them, certainly, but I don't know. That's something they'll have to answer to.
Is there anything to suggest that you're aware of that Brian Laundrie's parents chose to give their son a head start from police?
I have no information on that one way or the other. I think we all want that answer, right? Or that's one of the answers that we want.
On September 14th, the day after Brian Laundrie's parents say they last saw him, Northport police found the family's Mustang parked at an entrance to the Carlton Reserve. They tagged it as an abandoned vehicle. The family's attorney says Brian's father went to the reserve the night of September 13th to look for his son, and his parents returned on the 14th and saw the car. The next day, the lawyer says, his parents drove the car home. The Laundrie family's lawyer issued a statement saying the speculation by the public and some in the press that the parents assisted Brian in leaving the family home or in avoiding arrest on a warrant that was issued after Brian had already been missing for several days is just wrong. Brian Laundrie took off before Gabby's remains were even found, and he hadn't been named as a suspect in her death. So why is he missing? By now, the FBI is involved, searching for Brian at the Carlton Reserve, a 25,000-acre swampland with more than 80 miles of hiking trails. Search teams use swamp buggies, ATVs, dive teams, and drones. But are they searching the right place? Because the Northport police say the only tip they have about Brian Laundrie possibly hiding out in the Carlton Reserve came from his parents.
The Laundrie family still says that this is the only place, this Carlton Reserve is the only place they believe Brian Laundrie to be. What do you make of that?
I think that's what investigators have to go on right now. There's been no credible sources anywhere else.
I think it's a logical place, and they actually would be negligent if they didn't go search that place thoroughly, because there is information, whether it's credible or not, that that's where he was going. But again, I'm very skeptical of the parents because of their behavior from day one.
There's no word from authorities that Brian Laundrie's parents, Chris and Roberta Laundrie, are under investigation. Investigators with their search. For days, there are 2 searches underway, for Gabby and for Brian. Then, on September 19th, human remains are found in a camping area in Teton County, Wyoming. It's devastating news for the Petito family. The FBI announces the remains belong to Gabby. Her death is ruled a homicide.
There are times where it's difficult to tell the difference between an accident and a homicide. The coroner here came forward with a manner of death very quickly. So I suspect it's quite apparent that it was clear to him it was not an accident.
In fact, the Teton County coroner said someone strangled Gabby. Her cause of death was determined to be manual strangulation and throttling. The coroner also said that Gabby died 3 to 4 weeks before her body was found on September 19th. Remember, she FaceTimed with her mom on August 24th, and she was seen with Brian at a restaurant in Jackson, Wyoming on the 27th. But what about that text that was sent from Gabby's phone to her mom that said no service in Yosemite? That was sent on August 30th, and based on the coroner's timeline, it's very unlikely she was alive on that day.
I think in this particular case, the timeline is everything. I'm assuming there's going to be litigation in the future, and we really need to know the timeline And that includes the time that they left New York to the time the body was found, September 19th. We have to know the whereabouts of Brian Laundrie, and knowing the time of death is crucial here. We have to know where he was when she died.
I love the band.
Gabby Petito is confirmed dead. Brian Laundrie is now missing. Coming up next, internet sleuths work to solve the case.